What's going on, guys? I just thought I'd share a story with you today. This is going back about 3 years ago now or so. I think it was about December, maybe November of 2019 when this happened. I used to have a 1998 Ford Explorer, and this was a great vehicle. I got so much mileage out of this thing. Paid about $2,200 for it back in 2018, I think, and I drove the shit out of that thing. Like, I beat the living piss out of it, and it just never died. And I barely put any maintenance into it either. Like, I did oil and plugs and wires and air filters, but that was about it, and fuel filters. But it was a 4-liter V6, and those are not necessarily the greatest motors ever made. But towards that time, I was starting to look into upgrading to a different truck, which, of course, I did. This 2011 that I have now was shortly after that. I think it was February of 2020 I bought this. So the throttle on that Explorer eventually decided it was just going to start sticking one day. Like, the first time I noticed it was when I accelerated at a set of lights and I put my foot into it a little ways, and it just sucked the pedal right to the floor and just took off. So something in the cable might have been frayed or something, or maybe the cruise control transducer or something was acting up, because the cruise control definitely worked. I don't know. Either way, happened to me a couple of times. I just realized take off nice and casually, it won't be an issue. Well, there was one day here at the mall where I was going over a speed bump that's more like a speed mountain. Like, in my Mustang, I can't even go over it because I will high center it on that thing if I go too slow. So I just don't even bother. It's really bad. So I went over it. Normally I would just be able to coast over, but I was at a dead stop, so I didn't have a choice to accelerate over it. And what do you know? The throttle stuck right to the floor, and it's right in the middle of a parking lot. There's people walking right in front of me, and there's vehicles everywhere. So what's the first thing I can do is crank the wheel to the open parking lot. And I tried to get it in neutral, but it just didn't want to actually shift into neutral. I don't know what the issue was there. It just didn't want to go into neutral. So I'm thinking, okay, we got two trucks. There's a 3500 Ram with a CP rail, like big bumper on it. So there was that. There's the actual mall. That was obviously the last choice. I'd rather hit a vehicle than the building. And there was a Tacoma, and the Tacoma happened to take the fall. I went full speed into the back of this Tacoma, and somehow, I mean, even if there was damage to my Explorer, I wouldn't have even noticed it. I hit so much shit with that bumper in the bush that it was so scuffed up and dented. But I slammed into the back of this, like, pretty well brand new Tacoma, and I managed to scratch the tailgate a bit and bust the tail light, and that was pretty much it. I think the bumper might have a scratch or two. So, of course, I was pissed off that happened, but I left my name on a piece of paper with my phone number on it, and then the guy gave me a text a couple days later, and he was happy enough that I actually left it, because he says it's happened before to him where people have just hit and ran him. And of course, I'd be pretty pissed off if someone did that to me. I'm not going to do it to them, especially seeing as right in the open, people saw it, and I definitely was my fault. But yeah, I did that. I left my number, and we got it all sorted out. That was basically a $2,000 bill to get the body work done, and just wrote him a check. There was no point in going through insurance or anything, but I guess that goes to show, if your throttle cable starts to stick, you probably should address it right away instead of putting it off, because you never know when it's going to stick. Could have happened in a lot worse spots. Yeah, here's the lesson. Don't ignore a stuck throttle cable. Okay, guys, we'll see you later.